Welcome this evening to our special board meeting for Tuesday, August 4th. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please.
Mrs. Yetsey.
Here.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. Saxon.
Here.
Mrs. Chimera.
Here.
And Mr. Vaca.
Here. Yeah, please, because we're echoing.
I don't have that.
No? Oh,
Open meeting.
yeah. Okay. Finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add and or delete?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here tonight. We did have one piece of information come to us late this afternoon out of Governor DeWine's office that will be a slight change to something that we've already taken into consideration, and that is he has required masks for students in grades K through 12. Originally, NRCS Restart was looking at requiring 3 through 12 and strongly recommending in K through 2. We will adjust that language in the guidelines and what we put into our student handbooks, and that will be re-approved at our next board meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, our first formal report comes out of our curriculum office. Mr. Pritt is going to share with the board where we are in terms of our student fees as we look at the 2021 school year. Mr. Pritt.
Thank you, Mrs. Casario. So I do have for you a draft of what school fees might look like for the upcoming school year that I just want to talk through quickly with you. I'm going to share my screen here. As soon as that goes away, I will, there we go. Okay, so what we have looked at is a couple of categories worth of fees, and we really have our structure broken out for students K through 2, have a different fee structure than what grades 3 and 4, 5 and 8 in the high school have.
Mr. Pritt, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you increase the size of that, please?
Sure can.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
How does that work for you, Mrs. McCarthy?
Much better. Thank you.
Absolutely. So when we look at our K2 fees and we look at our digital side of fees, so these would be digital subscriptions that students have, subscriptions for lack of a better term for, we run to about $60.04 when we add up all of the prices of all the programs that students are enrolled in. The district a couple of years back implemented a technology fee, which is $25. And then about $15 worth of workbooks, and in particularly the math workbook is where you see that fee. So that works out to about $100.04. So we're recommending that we keep that fee at the $100 where it is now. And actually with all of these fees, you're going to see that we are recommending the fee structure stay the same for this coming year, despite the fact that in some cases we have student fees that would be in excess of that $100 amount. When we look at the environment that we find ourselves in, we don't feel like it's an appropriate time to increase fees, knowing the challenges that many families are having at this point in time. So as we work up through our grades, you're going to see that there's actually a bit more of a price for the digital subscription in grades 3 and 4. Those will work out to about $77.82, same technology fee, same workbook fee. So if we were to charge the full amount of student fees for the upcoming school year, we'd actually be at about $117. Again, we're recommending that we keep those fees steady for one more year at the $100 fee. 5 through 8, things get a little more expensive. So we have a digital subscription fee of $81.90, technology fee of $25, workbook fee of $15, which brings us to $121.90. Again, the recommendation would be that we would keep that fee at the $100 for the upcoming school year. The high school is a little bit different of an animal in that their prices or their school fees are based upon the courses that the students are taking. So those dollar amounts have actually already been previously approved in our course selection guide, which we would have done back before students had left for the upcoming school year. When we go a little bit further down, we look at our pay to participate fees, and what you're going to see is there's no change there either. So we have the high school athletics is $200 per event. Middle school athletics is $100. Our fine arts fee of $50 at the high school level, $25 at the middle school level. And again, we will continue to maintain that cap of $250 for the upcoming school year. So while we have incurred some additional costs, I think it's best at this point in time not to ask to pass those along to families. And we're looking to continue to move forward with the same fee structure that we have had for this current school year and actually for the last 2 school years to that point. So if you have specific questions about that, I'd be happy to address them for you.
Mr. Pruitt, I have a question.
Sure.
In regards to specifically our pay to participate fees. And first, I appreciate the administration keeping the fees the same as they were last year for our families, even though we have to make up those costs someplace else. But in regards to our pay to participate fees, when do you foresee that those fees might be implemented or might be due by the parents and families that are participating in sports and extracurriculars?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, as we all know, there's still a lot of uncertainty wrapped up in those sporting events and in those activities moving ahead. So the discussion that we have kind of had would be that we would be looking at a September 1st date. That should be enough time for us to know that events for the fall are actually going to be able to occur according to the state. So we're not looking to collect any of those fees in the short term while practices are happening or anything like that. That would require us then to reimburse those fees. But we're really looking at about a September 1st deadline to start or to get those fees in place.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
Thank you.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Here's an opportunity for hearing of the public on agenda items. If there's something on this evening's agenda that you'd like to discuss, now is your opportunity.
Mr. Hieronymus, if you would like to give the public direction on that.
Okay, we have 30 people connected here today, so why don't we use the raise hand feature. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to address the board, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. It looks like we do not have anybody requesting to address the board.
Good, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the education report. Ms. Tamira.
Thank you. We have a few items for your consideration under the education report. We have an agreement with America's Best Transportation to provide specialized transport for our students who attend programs outside of the district. We also have an agreement with Belfair Jewish Children's Bureau that provides a comprehensive array of educational programs and services for students with autism spectrum disorder. There is also an agreement for professional van service for transportation for student transportation. We also have the district's remote learning plan for approval. The plan outlines specific facets of how the online program will be implemented for the 2021 school year. And finally, we have for your consideration the school fees and pay to participate fees for the 2021 school year. The fees for the 2021 school year are unchanged from the prior year. This concludes the education report.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to policy committee report. Ms. McCarthy.
Yes, fellow board members, we have a first reading this evening of a new policy that replaces policy 3220. This is for the teacher evaluation that's required to be adopted by the board on or before September 1st. The policy relates to, like I said, teacher evaluation. It's the OTES 2.0 evaluation system. The policy committee met just prior to this meeting to review this policy in consultation, or I'm sorry, and then Mr. Ahern met on our behalf in consultation with the North Ridgeville Teachers Association to review this policy. So it's before us tonight for our first reading and will be approved at our next regular board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy.
You're welcome.
All right, buildings and operation report. We have one item for consideration this evening. We also have one air-operated bus lift from Transportation Department to consider for reassignment of equipment that will be used for spare parts, sold, or disposed of. This concludes the building and operations report. Move on to human resources report. Ms. Saxon?
We have a number of items in the human resources report. 30 supplemental contract appointments, 3 supplemental resolution to hire non-certified, non-NREA staff appointments, 69 special project supplementals, 14 certified contract adjustments, 1 support staff leave of absence, 1 support staff resignation, 1 supplemental contract resignation. The second reading and consideration for approval will be at the August 18th regular meeting. This concludes the human resources report.
Thank you, Ms. Saxon.
Just a question about human resources.
Absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, where are we at with bus drivers at this point in the school year or in the preschool year?
In the preschool year. At this point, we are still finalizing transportation. Matt, I don't know, Mr. Yunker, if you want to jump in here in terms of specifics, but I do think that we might have to adjust some of our drivers based on some of the decisions made moving forward. Mr. Yunker?
Yeah, and Superintendent Casera, you hit it right on the head. We are still finalizing what those routes look like, how the drivers will be impacted by it. You know, our intent and our feelings at this point are that we will be utilizing all the drivers in some capacity, depending on how these routes shake out. But we hope to have that finalized by next week.
Mr. Yunker, do you think there'll be a need to hire additional drivers?
Mr. Yunker, do you think that there will be a need to hire additional drivers?
I do not foresee that being the case. I don't think there's going to be need to hire additional drivers beyond what we have.
Thank you.
How are we doing with staff? Are we filling any openings? Do we need any more staff? Or how are we doing?
At this time, we are completely staffed. We are finalizing our online staffing versus our in-person staffing. So some things might shake out here in the next week or two, but at this moment, we are completely staffed.
Move on to education report. Ms. Tamira?
We have one item for your consideration under the education report. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the settlement agreement and release as presented. I move to approve the human resource item in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. McCarthy. Is there any discussion this evening? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Move on to human resources report. Ms. Saxon?
Yes, we have a few items to consider under the human resources report. 1 supervisor resignation, 1 supervisor appointment, 2 special project supplemental appointments, 1 unpaid volunteer recognition, 1 support staff substitute appointment. I move to approve the human resources items in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Saxon, second by Ms. Yetsey. Is there any discussion this evening? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Here's an opportunity for hearing of the public on new items. If there's anything you'd like to discuss with the board, here's your opportunity.
And we would just ask again that you use the raise hand function in Zoom, and we will call on you.
At this time, we do not see any hands raised.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education enter into executive session for consideration of employment of a public official.
Moved.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. Saxon. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we are going to put all the remaining people into the waiting room, and then we'll be ready for, I'll let you know when we're ready for executive session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to mute.
Alrighty, the recording has been turned back on.
It is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn the special meeting with no action to follow.
Moved.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Yetsey,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.